Welcome to another monthly reset. In these videos, I like to talk about my goals from the past month and if I achieved any of them, my goals for this month, any of my current faves, or any of the books that I've been reading lately. So that's what we're doing today. So personally, July was a lot better than June. I feel like I'm really struggling this summer because I'm trying to work, but I'm also trying to enjoy summer, and I just feel pulled in so many different directions that it's been really hard to focus. I'd say my motivation to design was still pretty low. I don't even think I designed a single new thing except for patterns. It's hard to remember. July felt like 6 weeks. Some of the goals I had in July were to keep up with Amazon and TikTok shop. I didn't really put a number to it in my previous video, but I will say that the number I wrote down for myself, I did get to the goal for Amazon, and I was like $20 below my goal for TikTok shop. I'd say I succeeded with that goal. Because I was a little bit more busy, I wasn't able to make as many videos. You know, it's a ripple effect. If you don't have time to film, then you don't have content to edit, and then you can't post as much. That's kind of where I was at. Another goal was to make 4 patterns, and I definitely did that. I think I made over 10 patterns. So I didn't really want to put a number to it because I was just getting started with getting back into that mindset, and I knew if I put like a big number on it, it'd probably not happen. So the fact that I actually made more than 4 patterns, I'd say I achieved that goal as well. I haven't really worked on patterns in the last couple of weeks, so it was mostly all just those first 2 weeks. I feel like that's how it is with everything, is it comes in waves of like I'm really obsessed with it, and then it dies down, and then I get obsessed with it. And it's like it's a roller coaster with everything, and just trying to manage it all is sometimes a challenge. So I made like a coastal grandma collection. I did one of the spoonflower challenges, and I think I did something else, but I can't remember. So I did make a handful of patterns. I think I still need to upload some of them to spoonflowers. I had another goal to just design more and to maybe get back in the mood for designing, and that didn't happen in July. Fall's coming, and maybe the motivation will strike there, because I think that's another thing, is it's just been so hot. I don't want to do anything. It's so demotivating. I don't want to exist. Every time I go outside, I get like 5 more mosquito bites. It's just annoying. Maybe if it starts cooling down, or at least the humidity goes away, maybe I will be more excited to design, but you know, we'll see what happens. Another goal I had was to get a cat, and the day I filmed the July reset video was the day I went to go see the cat. So I had filmed that part of the video before I even went and met Oliver. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen any of my videos recently, I did get a cat. I've now had him for a month, and he is doing really, really good with Tate. They just sleep together on the couch all day. They're doing really, really well. I did a whole update in a previous vlog, so if you want more info on the cat, watch that video. Honestly, my goals for July were pretty low, but I did meet most of them, so I guess that's good, but I know the goals were kind of low, so it's kind of like, you know, but I'll take the win where I can. Let's move on to August goals. My goal for Amazon is to do about the same as I did last month. My goal for TikTok is to do a little bit better than last month. I was just under my goal. I think I'll be able to make it this month. I really want to reach 10,000 followers on TikTok. All of these goals so far are like outside of my control. I want to upload 50 designs to Cricut. This is way lower than any other month like that I put a number to. I want to do a goal that's obtainable, and I think that if I have 50 versus like 200 or 300, I can say, yeah, let's actually spend some time designing. 50 really isn't that much. You can do this and get it done. I do want to also, I'm gonna say, make another 4 patterns. I don't want to say make 4 collections or make 20 patterns. Let's just stick with 4. I want to do 4 weekly emails, which I've been doing fairly decent with. Some of my favorites for the month, I'm just gonna talk about this book again. This is the mental health coloring book from Can You Believe It? It's the first coloring book I got. It kind of started me on this whole coloring journey. It's been one very good for my mental health and anxiety. One coloring book kind of changed everything for me, and I'm really grateful for it. I'm almost done with it. I only have a few more pages to go through, but this was my very first TikTok that went viral, like super viral. It says almost 600,000 views on this one, so I'm hoping it gets to 1 million. That would be very fun. This one was a left versus right coloring, and I haven't posted the video yet because I have to re-edit it because I had audio in it and TikTok didn't like that. So even though I had the copyright to that, whatever. Long story short, I haven't posted this one yet, but it was left-handed versus right-handed coloring. And honestly, I think my left hand did fairly decent. Like you can see there's some parts where I went out of the lines, but overall, I think I did very good with my left hand. My right hand. I'm meaning to say my right hand this whole time. I am a lefty, so it was harder to color with my right hand. That's what I'm trying to say. This one I just did. Look at that shine. These were with the new Grabby markers. Yeah, all of this was with the Grabby paint pens I just got. This one I did outside. So it's like I have memories tied to all of these, which is kind of cool. Oh, this one I just did yesterday. This is with the new Grabby paint pens as well. I love the colors. Like these, I was shocked with how pretty. I love this color so much. I'm just obsessed with that. It's like a salmon color. So fun. If you don't follow me on TikTok and you want to see me coloring, go watch my TikToks. So I just have a handful left to do, but this is my kind of the beginning of my coloring journey was this coloring book. And obviously I have a few more. I've talked about this. I've talked about other coloring books on here before. If you want to get into coloring but you don't know where to start, check out the link I have in the description with all of my coloring faves. It has coloring books that I've talked about, markers, everything like that. So definitely recommend checking that out if you are interested in coloring. On to the last part of this video, and that is where I talk about the books I've read this month. The first book I read was The Measure by Nikki Erlich, I think. This book was okay. I think I gave it a 2 or 3 out of 5. Basically, the premise is that one day strings appear in a box, and it basically tells you how long you have to live. It starts off with people being confused and then figuring it out, and then it goes through like, now there's websites to figure out to determine how long it is, and then the military has to get forced. Like, it's a very interesting concept. Like, it's not something I've read before or heard about before, but the pacing was a little off. After a while, you just kind of are like, okay, let's get moving. There's a lot of different point of views. I think there's at least 5 or 6, if I remember correctly. Some POVs you like more than others, and so those chapters can be very slow and annoying. A lot of these characters are kind of interconnected in a way. The first 90% of the book was taking place over a year. The last 10% took place over 10 years. And I get that a lot of stuff needed to be wrapped up and there was no way to do it without all of these time jumps. But that's what I mean, where I say the pacing was just weird. Based on the timeline of events that needed to happen, I don't know how to solve that issue, but it just made for the ending to feel like kind of an afterthought, even though I know it wasn't. It just felt like so brushed over that it was like, all right, now you're just telling me things instead of living it. It just felt different. I don't know. But I will say there was a part of the ending that just completely took me by surprise. That kind of redeemed itself a little bit. I was getting super bored with the book, but then the ending kind of helped with that. The next book I read was The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. And let me just say, I loved Yours Truly and Just for the Summer, that interconnected series. I gave the first one 4, and then the second and third both were 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed Abby's writing in those books. I thought she tackled sensitive subjects very well. So I had high hopes for this book, and maybe that was my issue. Long story short, trigger warning for infertility, painful periods. There were some comments made that kind of made it insinuated that having your own child is better than either having a surrogate or adopting. Like, just some of the way those conversations were had were kind of just not it. I don't think it landed as well in this one. I also just absolutely hated the ending of this book. The next book I read was Sundown Motel. What I needed was an audio book that was interesting, that I could listen to while I was driving, that wasn't gonna make me want to fall asleep and turn it off after 5 minutes. And this book delivered. So for me to say that, like, that's high praise for it, that I could focus on driving while listening to this. That means a lot. I really enjoyed this book. It basically is about a haunted hotel and some cold cases. It has 2 point of views in 2 different decades that it's in. So it takes place with the main character of present day, her aunt in the 80s, that timeline. So they are family, but they are in different timelines. Just how it connects, where you're learning things in one decade and then another, and how the information kind of, I don't know, it just kind of like came to you at the right time. So I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 only because the ending wasn't like super exciting or riveting, but I didn't hate it. So I think with a thriller, if the ending can completely take me by surprise, then it's more than likely going to be a 5 out of 5. But this one didn't do that. I thought this was a very solid book and definitely recommend it. The last book I read was Reckless, and oh boy do I have thoughts on this one, but I don't want to say too much because Powerless I know was super popular. If you haven't had a chance to read Reckless yet, I don't want to turn you off of reading it. I just want to say that I really hate repetitive conversations, and that's what this entire book was. One giant conversation multiple times. If you've read Powerless, you know how it ends, where Kai is trying to find Pei. They find each other in the first freaking chapter. Like, what are you talking about? You couldn't even have them be not together for 5 minutes. So I don't know. And they kissed like right away, and they're like, I hate you, but I love you constantly. And it's so annoying. I never once believed they were enemies because they never had a genuine thought about how much they hated that person. It was always, I hate that I care about this person. The enemy part was not believable. And I think that was a big part of this book, is they were supposed to be enemies, and that didn't land very well. Overall, I think you could have just read like the first couple chapters and then the last couple chapters. Like, not much happened in this book. I think what happened was the publishers wanted a trilogy, but Lauren Roberts wanted a duology, and this book felt like it was a forced book. It didn't feel like it was necessary. It felt like it could have been half the length and been a lot stronger. I found a lot of it to just be annoying and repetitive, and that's all I'm going to say about that. I will be reading the next one because I want to see how it ends. So that's that. Those are the books I read this month. Overall, out of all the books I read, Sundown Motel is the one I would recommend to read. But that's all I have for today. I'd love to know what your goals for August are, and I hope we have a great August. I will see you next time. Bye!